Right. So we're starting here, Ois Hay. The Rebbe brought down that Erev Rosh Chodesh Iyer is the avodah of Vayomer Lo Yohei Noson to give the koyach on Yipoked Moshevecha on the uh, avodas habirurim on the level of uh, descent into Biyah. And the Rebbe connects this now to the Mizmor Tehillim that we say during the month of Iyar, which is Sfiras HaOmer, in which we say Lam Natseach bin Gines Mizmor Shir, in which we read about the birur of the nations, the birur of the Amim, which is the birur of Biyah, of the Nefesh HaBahamis, as the Rebbe will explain, that there's actually two interpretations in the words Mizmor, Shir. Mizmor is a song, Shir is a song. And there is the way the Alshich explains this, but then the Rebbe says seems like the Tzemach Tzedek, referring to the Alter Rebbe and Lekutei Torah, explains it a little bit different. So this is what the Ois is going to discuss now. Hey, יש לקשר זה עם מה שכוסו בצמח צדק ברשימויסוב לתהילים. In that which the Tzemach Tzedek writes in his notes on the Tehillim, the markings that the Tzemach Tzedek has on the Tehillim, B'negeya ha-mizmor lam natzeach b'neginis mizmor shir, as it relates to this mizmor of lam natzeach b'neginis mizmor shir, we say this after Sfiras Omer. We say the Mizmor Lamatzech Benigid Mizmor Shir Alekim Yechanenu V'Rachenu, as he's going to explain now. So Shakosav Alshich. So the Tzemach Tzedek brings down from the Alshich Shemizmer Zeh Medaber B'Mois HaMashiach, that this Mizmer, this chapter 9 in Tehillim, talks about the days of Mashiach. And then, Sha'oz Yiyu Shnei Dvorim. In the days of Mashiach, there will be two things. First of all, there will be a Shefa Baroches Tov Yisrael, a flow of good blessings for the Yidden. That's one thing. And that's why it says right in the beginning of the Perek after Mizmor Shir, Elikim Yechanenu V'Yivarchenu, God will grace us, God will bless us. So that's the part which is a flow for the Yidden, a Shefa Brachas for the Yidden. But then the second part is the Yiskadish Shmo Yizborich Ba'ilom. Hashem's name will be sanctified in the world. That's why we say, Hashem will judge the worlds fairly and with justice, and it will be recognized. The world will recognize the greatness and the righteousness of Hashem. That's the impact we'll have on the world. So the Eibishter will be sanctified by the world. So you have the brachas for the Yidden, that's the Mizmoir, and the Kedushas of the Eibishter's name that the world will recognize as Shem, that's Shir. That's what the Alshich says. So we say, B'zo sheba'ascholas ha-mizmer nemar mizmer shir. This is in the beginning when it says mizmer shir. Mizmer al inyan harishon. Mizmer on the first idea in which there will be a flow. Elikim yechanenu will be the grace of Hashem and the blessings. Vorchenu. That's mizmer. And shir al inyan Hashem. And the song of the second name. However, when the Alter Rebbe quotes from the Alshich, he goes ahead and he brings down from the Likutei Torah. And the Rebbe explains that when the Alter Rebbe brings down the Likutei Torah, his intent is to differ with the Mizmar Shir, the way the Alshich says, which is according to Drush, and to explain Mizmar Shir according to Hasidus, according to the Kabbalah, which is the Soid. It says, "La'acharei shahatzamach tzedek maitik es divrei ha'alshich." After the Tzemach Tzedek quotes the words of the Alshich, maybe Masha Kosu Belikutei Torah, he brings down that what is written in the Likutei Torah, Soif Divrei Hamaschil Mizmer Shir Chanukas Habayis. So in that Maimer, he says over there that what is the true idea of Mizmer Shir? Over there, it also says Mizmar Shir. Just like it says over here, Lam Natzeach ben Guinness Mizmar Shir. Over there, it also says the Lashon Mizmar Shir Chanukah Sabai. So what is the two ideas of Mizmar and Shir? So the Alter Rebbe says over there, the Mizmar Hu Shir HaMalochim. That Mizmar is the song of Malochim. And Shir Hu Shir is HaNeshama. When Shir goes in the Neshamas. Because the Tzemach Tzedek referenced the Alter Rebbe, who teaches Mizmor is the Malachim and Shir the Neshamas, the Rebbe learns therefore that what the Tzemach Tzedek means to say that actually the Malachim are associated with the nations because the nations of the world get from the Malachim, the Ayin Malachim. So the Mizmor is actually on the second aspect, that fact that the Eibishter is Miskadesh, Kisish Petamim Misher. And the Shir is the Shiras HaNeshomas, that's the thank and the song for the Eibishter, for the Shefa Brochus. And the Rebbe will explain in a minute. So how come it starts with Elikim Yechanenu, which is really a blessing for the Yidden? Well, let's look inside. So he brings down from the Alter Rebbe that what it means, Mizmer Shir Chanukas Habayis, the Mizmer Hu Shir HaMalochim. Mizmer is the song of Malachim. V'Shir Hu Shir HaNeshama. So so what does the Tzemach Tzedek mean over here? The Mashe Kosuv HaAlshich, that the Alshich writes, Shemizmer Hu Alinyan Harishon, that the first Mizmer is on the first aspect, the Shefa Brachos Li Yisrael, that goes on the flow of blessings to the Yidden, that's the Mizmer. And V'Shir Hu Alinyan Hashene, the Shir is on the second aspect, which is Kisishpet Ami Mishpert, the Misher, that the Eibishter judges the nation with correcting the Kedushas of Hashem's name, Hu Al Pidrush. That's according to the Alshich, which is Drush. Ukiyedua, as it's known, Shaharizal Omer Olav, the Arizal said about the Alshich, Shanishmose hi me'olam hadrush, that his neshama, his soul, comes from the world of Drush. What the Alter Rebbe wants to say, but based on that which is written in Likutei Torah, that's miyusad al Kabbalah Soid. That's already based on the Kabbalah, which is the secret of Torah. So over there, we say Shemizmer is Hushiras HaMalochim, song of the Malachim, V'Shir Hushiras HaNeshamas, and Shir is the sing of the Neshamas. Tzarich Leimar, we have to say the reverse, Shemizmer, which is the song of the Malachim, Shayich Lechisishpeit Amim Misher. That's connected to judging the nations fairly with correctness. That is the Mizmer. Ki hashpol umas ha'olam. That's Malachim, because how does the flow come to the umas ha'olam? The Sishpeit Amim Misher, Hima HaMalachim. That's when the Malachim al Yidei Ha'in Sorim through the 70 nations. On the other hand, Vishir Shayich lahashefa sheyushpali Yisrael. Shir is connected to the flow that goes to the Yid. Okay? So we just changed the meaning, which is the mizmar referred to, which does the shir refer to. According to the Al-Shich, the mizmar goes for the flow of the Yidden, and the shir goes for Sishvat Ami Mishra for the nations. According to the Kabbalah, the Alter Rebbe, since mizmar is the song of Malachim, that's connected to the Sishpat Ami Mishra because the nations are connected to Malachim. They get their hashpah from the Ayin Sorim, from the Malachim, through the Malachim. And Shir is the connection, the Amshocha to the Yid, that's the Neshama, that's Shiras HaNeshama. So the Tzemach Tzedek continues in his notes. The Hatam She'emri Mizmar Zachar Sfiras HaOmer. What's the reason we say this Mizmar? After Sfiras HaOmer, who? Ki inyan Sfiras HaOmer hu birur zayin hamidas the nefesh habahamis. What is the idea of the counting of the Omer? That is the sorting out the 7 emotions, the 7 midas of the animal soul, as we do every day. Chesed, Chesed, the Gevurah, all the different specifics of the 7 attributes, the 7 emotions of the nefesh habahamis. And the shoyresh nefesh habahamis, the root of the nefesh habahamis is from the chayis of the merkava, the chayis v'fana kodesh by the merkava, which is malachim. That's the inyan mizmer. That's the idea of the mizmer. That's why Sfiras HaOmer is followed by mizmer and Sishpat Ami Misher, because that's the Malachim. Vayidei habirur v'haliyah the nefesh habahamis, but through sorting out the 7 emotions of the nefesh habahamis and elevating the nefesh habahamis, nase gam hali the nefesh halikis, then it also becomes a liyah of the godly soul shir. So mizmer, you start about the birur of the nefesh habahamis. That's mizmer. And then you come to shir, the elevation of also the nefesh halikis. And that's why it's mizmer shir. So the Rebbe zog the Eshleimar, the zeh she'omrim, mizmer zeh she'medaber be'inyan birur amim kipshutam. Why are we saying this mizmer, which speaks about sorting out the nations? We say the birur hamidos, that's the nefesh habahamis of the person. But we're talking about in the mizmer about sorting out the amim, literally, meaning the nations of the world, not the midos, the nefesh habahamis. We're talking about the world over here. So the reason we say achrei sfiras ha'omer shenyonu birur hamidas the nefesh habahamis shebi Yisrael, we're sorting out. We're not mevarer the nefesh habahamis of the nations. We're our own nefesh habahamis. Is the Jewish nefesh habahamis. Everyone is mevarer their own nefesh habahamis. So why do we say the birur of the nations after we say the birur, after we do the sfira, which is the birur of the nefesh habahamis of a yid, is hu ki al yidei birur hamida is the nefesh habahamis nimshach kam birur hamid. Because when you sort out the midos of the nefesh habahamis, your own, your animal midos, it brings about to kisishpat amim mishar nimshach gam birur amim. It also sorts the nation. So we say sfiras ha'omer, we mevarer, we count and we do one of the spheres, and then we're saying that this impacts that we're mevarer the worlds as well. Kisishpat amim Misha. So what does this tell us? It tells us all that the Sfiras HaOmer and the Lam Natseach, this pasuk, is associated with the idea of birur, to sort out the nations, the birur nefesh habahamis and the nation. So this is in the month of Eir, as the Rebbe said before, the 3 months, Nisan, Eir, Sivan, and their connection to the segel, the 3 letter, the segel, and we said one segel is vishilashto tered me'oid, which is the segel of birur, to go down into biyah. So he says, so we understand even better, shebe'erev Rosh Chodesh Iyar. So when it comes to Erev Rosh Chodesh Iyar, which is HaChodesh de Sfiras Omer, that's the month of Sfiras Omer. I mean, this is where we're up to. This Shabbos is already Shabbos Mevorchim, and Sunday is Erev Rosh Chodesh. So it's Mudgash Inyan HaSegol Shebi Vishilashto. So we emphasize the segel of Shilashto. That's, we're talking about the vowel segel, as the Rebbe said, that's the Vishilashto Tered Ma'id, the bitter in Olamis. So we emphasize it by the Mizmer, which we say, Mizmer Shir, first the Mizmer and then the Shir, Habirur Shemevarerim Mikol Ha'amim, to sort out all the nations. Maybe eventually that will lead Liviyisam Lisgula to the Segalta, to the level of higher level, which is the month of Sivan. Eir leads to Sivan. That leads to Viyisam Lisgula. So that's the connection specifically to this Mizmar in Tilim of Lam Natseyach that we say, Ben Guinness Mizmar Shir, that we say in Sfiras Omer, as the Rebbe explains, that it brings down the Alshich, but the Alter Rebbe explains that the Mizmar is first the bitter of the Nefesh HaBahamis, and then is the Shir. So the emphasis here is on the bitter of the Nefesh HaBahamis, which is the month of Iyar, which on Erev Rosh Chodesh is the Ki Yipoked Meishavecha in the pasuk Vayemer Lo Yahainosan, as the Rebbe explained earlier. Vav. So here we're saying that through the avoda with the nefesh habahamis, the birur, through the mizmer, it becomes shir. We also elevate the nefesh halikis. And the Rebbe says now that also in Yemei Mashiach, even though the work is done now, and the elevation will be visible in the times of Mashiach, but there will be an additional aliyah in the time of Yemei Mashiach. Let's see. V'hine, Yemei shebisfiras ha'omer. Just like when we count the Omer. Al yidei ha'aliyah the nefesh habahamis, through the elevation of the animal soul, which is mizmoir, and then shir. So mizmoir, and then nasa ha'aliyah the nefesh halikis. It brings about the elevation of the godly soul. Shir, it's mizmoir shir. Al derech zehu b'yemei Mashiach. Similarly, it's in Moisa Mashiach. Over there will also be Mizmoir, and that will bring Shir. Mizmoir, meaning even then, there will be the nations, Sishpet Ami Misher, because this posik is talking about in the future, Sishpet Ami Misher, not now. We're talking Losid. Losid Lovoi, it'll also be Sishpet Ami Misher, and then it'll be Shir, then it'll be the elevation of the Nefesh Elikis. Al derech zeh u'b'yemei Mashiach. Just like now, through the bitter of the Nefesh HaBahamis, then you have the bitter of the Nefesh Elikis also in the future, when we have the Sishpet Ami Misher, which is what the Tilim talks about. La'asid Lavoi. After that, you'll have the sheer, the elevations of the neshama. Al derech zeh b'meis HaMashiach. The mizmer zeh medaber b'iker b'meis HaMashiach. This mizmer mainly talks about the time of Mashiach. The al yidei sheyiskadish shmo yizbarech ba'olam. Through the Eibishter's name, blessed name, that will be sanctified in the world. Kisishpeit amim mishoir, the nations will be judged mishoir. Al yidei zeh yoytoiseh b'hashefa liyisrael. That would add the shefa to the yid. Now, the main birurim is actually now, not the Yemei Mashiach. The gam she'inyan habirurim. Shal yidei zeh nimshach hagilui. Even though the idea of the birurim, which brings about the gilui, hu achshov, so the birurim take place now. So now we know, we're mevarer, and then we get also shir, we get for the neshama. But no, even though the birurim is now, the inyan Yemei Mashiach, what is the Yemei Mashiach is hamshochas hagilui shel achrei avodas habirurim. That's the revelation which is after the avodas habirurim. That after we sort it out. So why are we doing sishpet amim, which is avodas habirurim leosid lovei? It seems that's the work that is being done now before Yemei Mashiach. And in Yemei Mashiach, we're just getting a giluyim. So why do we need the sishpet amim mishoir to bring about a greater elevation in the neshama? Mikol makom, al yidei ki sishpet amim mishoir v'yiskadesh shmo yizbarech ba'olam os. Through the fact that then will be sishpet amim mishoir, then. So as much as a vegilui that we have then from the avodas habirurim now, the sishpet amim misha that will take place will increase. Yitoisef od yoser b'hamshocha v'hagilu Yisrael. That would add even more in the hamshocha and the gilu for the Yidden. Legabe ha'hamshocha v'hagilu shetiya oz, relative to what is extended and revealed then. Al yidei ha'avodas habirurim achshav, to the birurim now. So yes, the birurim now bring about the giluim la'osid, but through the sishpet amim mishal la'osid it will be even a greater level. Then too there will be mizmer and then shir. V'lochei nemar mizmer shir. That's why it says mizmer shir, because then also mizmer lifnei shir. Why are we saying mizmer lifnei shir? We're talking about la'osid lovim. That's already the time of the giluyim, the hamshachas from now, but he says no, there will be, even then there will be mizmer shir. That after the sishpet amim mishir, there will be that level of shir. V'lochein nemar mizmer shir, mizmer lifnei shir. Hagam shemedaber bi'iker b'meis HaMashiach. Even though we're talking about mainly the days of Mashiach, v'inyan mizmer hu ki sishpet amim mishir sheyiyah oz. And what is mizmer? We're saying mizmer is sishpet amim mishir will be then. So kigam oz, because also in la'osid lovei will be the same idea. Yeh betchila mizmer, v'ayoda yeh hisofa b'shir. First it'll be mizmer, and then it's going to be shir. It's going to be an elevation in the neshamas after the birurim from sishpet amim mishir. It will be Elikim Yichanenu, the bracha to Yid. But the Rebbe challenges now, asks this whole build-up from the Likutei Torah, and now we're saying that first comes Kisishpet Amim Mishoir, the Mizmoir, and then comes the Shefa Brachas. So how come in the Mizmoir it says Elikim Yichanenu V'vorchenu? First it talks about the blood brachas that we get from the Eibishter, and only afterwards we say Kisishpet Amim Mishoir. The Rebbe addresses this now. So the Rebbe says, V'zeh sheba psukim shel achrei posuk harishon. So the fact that in the psukim that follow the first pasuk, the mizmoir shir, so we're just saying mizmoir is kisishpet amim misher, and shir is nemar elikim yerchanenu v'varchenu lifnei goimer lifnei sishpet amim misher goimer. So why does the pasuk Elokim Yechaneinu V'cheinu come before Tishbet Ami Misher? If Mizmar comes on, Mishmar goes on Tishbet and Shir goes, so it should be the reverse order. Goimer. So the Rebbe says Shlomo, we can say the kivon, because in the end of the day, it's all about the brachas for the Yidden. Yes, the way the Yidden get the greater brachas is through Tishbet Ami Misher. But ultimately, it's all because of the Yid. That's why we start with Elokim Yechaneinu V'Varcheinu, about the brachas that a Yid gets, and only afterwards. But the Seder is Mizmar Shir. So Shloimar, the Kivon Shekavonas Habriya Bishvil Yisrael. Since the intent of creation is for Yid, how they move on, so it's understood She'iker Ha'inyan the Yemesa Mashiachu, that the main idea of the days of Mashiach is Yushpa Shefarav. This is going to be, as we say in the Rebbeinu Shalom, the great flow. Beruchnis ubegashmis liYisrael. It's all about the Yid. Elo sheshleimus hashefa liYisrael. How is the complete, wholesome flow to the Yidden? While Yidei sheYizkadesh Shmo Yizbarech ba'olam, it's through Hashem's name being sanctified in the world. So the order is Mizmar Shir, but it's still Elokim Yechaneinu, it's about the Yid. V'lochei nemar Elokim Yechaneinu V'Varcheinu Yohid Ponu Itonu Selo Lifnei Tishbet Ami Misher Gomer. That's why it says before Tishbet Ami Misher Gomer, to apply that it's all about the Yid. But the Seder is Mizmar then Shir. And the Rebbe brings down a similar idea in which, while we say there is the elevation in La'asid Lavi through the work of now, in Mashiach's time, the Berurim now, but yet it'll be even a higher level. Because La'asid Lavi. Because right now we also have the Schar comes in Olam Haba, but ultimately the real Schar will be in Olam HaTchiyah, when the Guf, the resurrection of the body, which means that in La'asid Lavi there will be this greater level, more than just the revelation for the Berurim. Just like the Berurim now bring us to Olam Haba in Gan Eden, but that's not the ultimate. Ultimately, everybody who is in Gan Eden will get up for Olam HaTchiyah, because that's the greater level that would be later on. Similar to what we know in the idea of a soul and a body. The noise of Lozeh Shehagilui Elikus Shenimshach Lahaneshama Al Yidei Avodoso B'Torah Mitzvahs. In addition to the godly revelation that the neshama gets by serving an Eibush Torah Mitzvahs B'Yoser Melubeshes B'Guf, when it's dressed in the body, Hugilui Naila Harbe Yoser Mehagilu Shahoyo Lo Koidem Yeridoso Lamato, is a much elevated revelation than the revelation that the soul had before it comes down below. Meaning, when the soul works with the body in this world, it gets a greater level, just like Avodas HaBirurim gets a higher level. So here, the neshama working, doing Torah mitzvahs with the body, gets a higher level than the neshama had before it came down to the body. Hinegam Hagilu Shal Yidei Havodah the Torah mitzvahs Beguf Gashmi. So also the Gilui, that we do the Avodah and Guf Gashmi, when are we going to get it? Yeah, the Iker b'Tchiyas HaMeisim. Mainly it's going to be by Tchiyas HaMeisim, not even in Olam Haba, and not in this world, it's going to be in the future. Kishan Neshama Tiya Melubeshes b'Guf Gashmi, when the Neshama is going to be dressed in a Guf Gashmi. Like he's saying, just like over there, Kisish Petami Misha brings the elevation to the Yidden, here the elevation of the Torah mitzvahs that it brings to the Yidden will be after the resurrection, after Tchiyas HaMeisim. The Agam Shegam Hagilui Began Eden. Even in Gan Eden, the revelation Gan Eden, after the neshama leaves the body, it is much higher than the revelation that the neshama in Gan Eden had before it descended. So when the neshama goes, it still gets a much higher. The birurim that the neshama worked with the body gives her a much higher level in Gan Eden. לפי שהגילוי דגן עדן של האחר ידעו בגוף, יצאו מהגוף. That revelation of Gan Eden that comes after the neshama descended in the body, and it left the body. While Yidei ha'avodah, the Torah mitzvah b'guf gashmi, he did it in a physical body. So the birurim of the guf gashmi gives the neshama a much higher level in Gan Eden. The komakoim ikir ha'gilui shal Yidei ha'avodah the Torah mitzvahs. The main revelation of the mitzvahs yiyeh b'tchiyas hamesim is going to be when the tchiyas hamesim kisha haneshama tiyeh mulbeshes beguf, when the soul will be dressed in the body. And therefore, the same thing is kisishpat amim misher will bring about to the higher level. This is understood from tchiyas hamesim. How do we know that it's going to be much greater? Because why would all the neshamas that have been for thousands of years in Gan Eden have to get up for tchiyas hamesim? It means that in tchiyas hamesim will be a greater gilui. So that means the body then will bring about a greater gilui to the neshama. From tchiyas hamesim, we understand this. The yakumu l'tchiyah kol Yisrael, all Yidden will get up for tchiyas. Gam haneshamas shenimtzoim began Eden kama lofim shana. Even the shamas that are in Gan Eden for many thousands of years. And 3 times a day during those thousands of years, they go up to a higher level. And yet, they'll get dressed up in bodies. They'll go to tchiyas hamesim, meaning all the levels that they have in the neshama by itself is not going to reach the level that they have when dressed up in a guf. The revelation of the world of tchiyas hamesim, that's much higher than the revelation of Gan Eden. Even at the highest level of Gan Eden, 3 times, 3,000 of years, still they're going to get up and dafki in the body. The Rebbe will connect this, the same idea as we're saying that after Sishpet Amim Mishoir in La'asid Lovin, then we'll come to the higher Madrege. And basically, while there is a high Madrege that we get through Avodas HaBirurim, La'asid Lovin, but yet it will be a much higher level that will be revealed then through the Neshamas Beguf and through Kisishpet Amim Mishoir, as the Rebbe will continue to explain in Ois Zion. Okay, we'll leave it over here.
Okay,
and
thank you very much.